Is it appropriate for lay people to tell others with non-Buddhist beliefs about the teachings of the Buddha, as long as it isn't a personal interpretation? I feel I'm in no position to have a perfect understanding of the Buddha's teaching, and don't feel I should be teaching others informally. Well, there's no problem with talking to other people about the teachings of the Buddha. I think there's a problem with teaching in general. You shouldn't ever think of yourself as a teacher or be trying to teach people. And it's all the better when you know that you don't have a perfect understanding, because the real problem would be if you thought you had perfect understanding and you start, maybe making up your own understanding and inserting your own ideas into it. The best is when you admit to yourself, as we all do, that we don't have perfect understanding, and therefore stick to the texts and pass on what you've been told. This is one important part of the Theravada, the Theravada, the teaching of the elders. There's a great emphasis placed on the idea, thus have I heard. So all the suttas start, evam me sutang. It's based on what you have heard. It's not based on what you think, or it's not something you've made up for yourself. And one should only consider that one is teaching the Buddha's teaching when one has heard it from someone who is reliable. So the meaning is you're not inserting your own interpretation. You're trying your best to stick with the interpretation of those who have come before, and most especially with the teachings of the Buddha, with the teachings of the Buddha himself. And in that case, there is no problem letting people know about the teachings. Even leading people in meditation isn't a problem, as long as you can avoid. The important thing is not knowing everything. The important thing is not inserting things that you haven't learned, like making stuff up or interpreting things. It's okay to say I don't know. It's okay to say I really don't have an answer for that, but I can get back to you, or maybe I can find someone who does, or maybe I can't. But I do know this and this and this, and I have heard this and this and this. And give people just that. I mean, if you went out and taught people basic meditation, for example, rising, falling, and then went on to the feelings, pain, aching, soreness, and thinking, and hearing. If you just went by the book, you could lead someone to become enlightened. You could lead someone through an entire meditation course. The problem is when people start including their own interpretations, and that's really what makes or breaks a teacher, I think, or makes one a really good teacher, is whether they can overcome this kind of fear of being without an answer, or this ego, whatever it is, many different things that lead them to add their own interpretations and a lot of weird things. Like I've seen teachers do a lot of weird things. People who call themselves teachers, who have come, for instance, to our monastery and done a little bit of training with our teacher, gone off on their own and just listening to some of the things they say, and then their students go crazy and so on as a result. Your students won't go crazy if you won't drive your students crazy if you just give them what's in the books. If you just tell them, say rising, falling, if anything comes up, thinking. If you are pedantic, or pedantic is the right word, but if you stick very much by the books to the point that people get bored of you, then you can say at the very least they won't go crazy, because you can be inspiring and say, yes, follow that, go with it, yes, that's the real self, that's God, that's so on. Then you can drive them crazy for sure. You can be a cause for people to go crazy. But if you just stick to the books, and then people say, this is boring, I want something exciting, then you can say, well, this is what I have, and I know that I'm not going to drive them crazy. You just might drive them away. That's the worst thing. But the other thing you have to realize, and another important part of your answer to your question, is that you can't expect all people in the world, or even most people in the world, to have any appreciation for these teachings. They're just not in a position. Their ideas are very much more in tune with the ways of the world, this clinging and partiality. Many people have firm belief in the importance of partiality, the importance of our likes and dislikes, the importance of ego, the importance of self-confidence, the importance of self-image, Yeah, the importance of ambition, the importance of passion, the importance of sexual intercourse, the importance of society, the importance of humanity. The list just goes on and on and on and on. And there are people who will fight very ardently in favor of these things. I would say more people will than will be able to see through them and give them up and be at all interested in giving them up. So I always encourage, and I think it's important to encourage people to share the teachings. And as I said, give them basic, whatever you've learned from this tradition anyway. I don't have any confidence in myself to talk about other traditions, but whatever you learn from this tradition, for sure, spread that. If you tell other people about that, I say no problem. There will be no problem. At worst, they will be turned off by it or so on. And the worst thing is that they might, if they practice it, is that they might be a little bit suspicious or unable to develop faith in it. So they either run away or they move slowly. The point being, even if they stick with it, they might move slowly because you're not able to explain everything, because you don't have all the answers. And I would say much better that you don't try to make up answers. Let them be suspicious. Let them go slowly. Because all that happens when someone doesn't have faith in what they're doing, it's not that they go on the wrong path, it's that they don't go anywhere. So if you can give them even a little bit of faith to walk slowly, then that's actually an incredible gift that you've given to them. You've given them something. It's obviously not as good as if you're a amazing, profound, articulate and skilled, super teacher who can just guide people, like the Buddha did, for example. Could guide anyone, almost anyone. Could guide a great number of people to enlightenment. But what I wouldn't encourage people is trying to push Buddhism on anyone. Though I suppose you'll find that out for yourself. When you push Buddhism on anyone, people run away from you in droves. Even people who might be interested in it will leave you behind, will not want to have anything to do with you. Yes, it's all right. But if you're asking, is it all right for me to go out and proselytize or push people into practicing, then no. But if you're just asking, then when people ask about Buddhism and say, hey, you know about meditation, can you teach me? Do it by all means. When I went back home after my course, I started teaching people. Probably far too zealous, and yeah, I turned some people away, but I got a little bit of instruction on the stages of knowledge after I had done a few courses. And I went and taught some people. There's one man who said, a friend of a friend. The friend came to me and said, this guy, he's interested in Buddhism. I told him to come and talk to you. Is that okay? And I said, yeah. And so the friend of a friend came to me and said, can you teach me about Buddhism? And I said, sure, I'll take you through the meditation. So I led him through these stages, first walking step, second walking step, all the sitting techniques that we have, giving him more time. Oh, it was wonderful. He ended up giving up he was a biologist and he cut up rats and he ended up giving it up. He got to the point where he had so much pain. And I said to him, you have to make a choice. You have to either be a biologist or be a Buddhist meditator, because you can't do both. I mean, you can't cut up rats anyway. And he gave it up. I mean, he was in his 4th year in university. He was ready to get his degree, and he gave it up, and he became he works for the government now, I think, in Canada. Really nice guy. And there was another man as well who I kind of kept in touch with. And I wasn't able to give them faith. I think neither of them has any faith in me as a teacher anymore, because I wasn't able to, obviously I wasn't the kind of person who should inspire faith. Not to say that I am now either, but so in the end, I don't think both of them moved on and have taken other teachers or have kind of lost touch with them, and they're not at all interested in what I do. I don't know if they would be now, but I feel like I did something good. So I'm not their teacher, and they don't think of me as some great teacher, and it's none of my business. But I gave them a gift. That's how I feel. Like good thing I did. And based on that experience, I think anyone could do that, because it wasn't anything special that I had. It was just basic understanding of meditation. If you haven't done, say, a meditation course, that I wouldn't recommend that, leading someone through a course. But as I said, giving them the basics is certainly not harmful, as long as you stick to the books. Anything?